Now, on Enough Said, with K-Fans Dan Barrero.
There's no thought, let's do the democratic processes that would remove things. I have no difficulty with at least having that discussion.
And Justin Guard.
So how do you ever get any kind of cultural sustainability, to use my favorite coach PJ Fleck's phrase?
Enough Said.
And it was just seemed like an avalanche of hundreds of people started to run, so instinctively I started to run.
We have now received word and confirmed the death of one American citizen in the terrorist attacks in Spain, amongst those who have been killed.
Welcome back to another edition of Enough Said. My name is Dan Barrero, joined as always today by Justin Guard and Lori Fisher in the control room to get us started. Hi, Lori.
Hi, guys. Serious stuff. There's so much to talk about when it comes to all the violence in the world, including the recent terror attacks in Spain and what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia. President Trump also under fire over how he reacted to both events. Dan?
Let's start with the Spain story, which ends up, it appears, there may be some more tentacles to it. There may be 3 coordinated terror acts involved. The big one was Barcelona. And we're kind of reminded, you know, we have gotten all sort of caught up in Charlottesville because it's such a huge story and such a tragic story. But I don't think we can ever, we were reminded, I guess, that there is, if we're
a great big world out there,
rank threats,
yeah,
this still remains the #1 threat in the world. And I hate to use the cliche, but our best new cliche is it could have been worse. And that's what folks are saying. That the reporters are saying the original plan was to take explosives use a van filled with explosives and to try to take out more people in Barcelona. But they couldn't get a van. And then eventually they apparently couldn't figure out how to really harness the explosives. So they did the old, or I should say they wanted a truck. And they ended up with vans. And in one of those cases, this is the new, let's face it.
It's the new way.
It's the new way, as we found out in Charlottesville as well. This is the new way where even if you don't have great technological savvy, you rent a van or you rent a truck and you try to run over as many people. It's insidious.
Was it south of France as well within the last year where they had that same thing in a tourist
Columbus,
area?
Ohio. There have been an endless array of those being the ISIS. It's
Yeah.
sort of like it's on their website.
Yeah.
Here's among the things you can do.
And it just take a normal everyday item that nobody would think twice about on any given situation and turn it into a weapon.
Correct.
Impossible to stop,
Correct.
really. Impossible to stop before they inflict some kind of damage. And it sounds like Spain had some kind of idea that something was brewing within the last couple of months. But if it's something like this, how are you ever going to prevent it? How are you ever going to predict, besides it just being in a touristy area, that those are going to be high priority targets for them now, right?
No, it's exactly right. And I don't think any of the 4 that have been identified so far were on any list. There may be more involved. This was a coordinated deal.
Yes.
So this was more than just one guy getting online, losing his mind, and saying, I'm going to take out as many people as I can. And in fact, I read, I think it was New York Times, that the southern part of Spain, there's what's considered sort of a hotbed of, is it pronounced Salafist?
Okay.
Of individuals and thinking, and as a result, this is, in fact, Mohammed Atta, who flew the first plane that went into the World Trade Center. He met with an al-Qaeda operative in a town not far from one of the other towns where the attacks took place. So it's another country that is, I think, then dealing with the question of, is there anything more we can do? How concerned do we have to be down the road? It was a little bewildering, though, because CNN, in covering this, they basically said, looks like could this be some sort of a copycat, talking about Barcelona, of what took place in Charlottesville?
No.
And go, wait a minute now.
Not even
These
close.
guys are if anything, it's the other way around. It's that the copycat is Charlottesville and the neo-Nazis taking a page out of their book, which is sad enough.
Okay, next up, a lot of discussion over removing Confederate monuments across the country. President Trump also tweeting, sad to see the history and culture of our great country being ripped apart with the removal of our beautiful statues and monuments. You can't change history, but you can learn from it. Dan.
Well, here's the problem the president has, and it goes back to Charlottesville. No one is going to listen to a point that actually others have made in recent years, really.
It's all white noise from him.
When the discussion is, well, how far do we go on attempting to eliminate our history? How effective is it? And are we actually giving greater currency to monuments that had lost a lot of currency by making this big a deal of it? He's the wrong guy to send the message. Why? Because he flunked and failed the first day in what he didn't say and what every other president has made sure to say regarding neo-Nazis, right-wing, I'm talking about extreme right-wing, white nationalists. He refused to take a great opportunity to do what many other presidents have done, and that's why, hearing it from him, no one's going to pay any attention to an argument that actually others have made, and I think that others can make.
Really not that difficult to condemn neo-Nazis, right? If we're going to talk about that. Given that it's not a very big group, it's kind of just a small group that lives in the shadows most of the time. But on the statues, I think I'm at the point now where I want everything changed, everything renamed, everything taken down. Not for the reason that everybody else does, because I'd actually like to move on to the important things when it comes to race relations, remembering history, the inequalities that still exist today. But we never really do that because we're all caught up on these easy things like tearing down a statue. Does everybody feel good now? The Robert E. Lee statue gone, going to be gone. So are we good? Is everything even?
It changes nothing.
That's what I mean. So if I was convinced that by changing statues, by changing lakes, there's now some military bases that people are wondering about, like Fort Bragg, Fort Hood, should we just change those too? And then everything's just going to be great and we can all move on in 2017? I don't believe that to be the case. So we're taking our eye off the ball on what can we actually do.
Well, and here's the other thing that's
everybody.
interesting. We go from about 25 to 30 miles per hour in the issue to 140. And so there's not even really, there's no thought, let's do the democratic processes that would remove things. I have no difficulty with at least having that discussion. But again, people who get angry with the slippery slope thing. And they shouldn't, because it is, the next question is, what do we do with Thomas Jefferson? What do we do with George Washington?
Right.
And we are aware there's differences between them and the Confederates, but we're talking about slave owners in some cases. And what we gain, no one has been able to explain to me exactly what we gain, other than this is easy. This is easy, but it really doesn't.
And we cheer at all the meetings when they announce
it.
Right.
These are big topics. I'm sorry, you guys. We have to keep moving on. A Minnesota-based 3M CEO resigned from President Trump's Manufacturing Advisory Council right before the president ended it. Inga Tallene saying he believes the initiative was no longer an effective vehicle for 3M to advance its goals of sustainability, diversity, and inclusion. Here's an expert we use quite often, Hamline University professor David Schultz. Take a listen.
This is a little bit of taking your bat and ball and going home at this point, is that Trump wanted to have these people in place to help advise in terms of bringing back or resuscitating manufacturing in the United States. And increasingly what he was starting to find here is that these independent CEOs were truly what? Independent CEOs, and they and Trump did not share the same values.
And a few days earlier, President Trump tweeted that those who left the council were grandstanding and they could be easily replaced. Dan?
Well, I heard actually just the other, it might have even been this morning, Newt Gingrich, who's been, relatively speaking, kind of a Trump sympathizer, a guy who's tried to do damage control and spin for him, said, I don't think the president understands that I think the quote was, he's more isolated than he really thinks. And this is another example of it, I think. And now, look, at this point, I don't want to be the skeptic or the cynic. I'm not even sure that everybody who's bailing out is doing it for the right reasons. Are they doing it because their conscience won't allow them to continue to work with him?
Some might be. They want to save face.
Exactly. And for some, I think it's, well, I'm not going to be the last one on this ship because I'll be demonized as being too much of an alt-right sympathizer, for example. Whatever it is, it's happening more and more to him. And again, you know, there's no evidence that, I don't know why we even keep, I hate to say it, why we keep talking about this, because he's too stubborn to ever figure it out. It's not like he's going to have this epiphany moment, you know? I am kind of isolated, and I'm going to have to rethink everything I do. I don't think he's capable of that.
No.
Do you?
No, when what we've seen, it's like when Tim Brewster kept changing coordinators over the years. You can't get anything done when you just keep sifting through everybody, whether it's press secretaries, whether it's secretaries of state, whether it's head of state, whatever. Any position and any committee, they're just running through people right now. So how do you ever get any kind of cultural sustainability, to use my favorite coach, PJ Fleck's phrase, to actually move the country forward in any meaningful way, even for a week, just to have a week where there's no drama, with everybody staying intact where they're supposed to.
Say at the beginning, again, if he'd have said what he needed to say, how evil it was, the act that took place right out of the Al-Qaeda and ISIS playbook in Charlottesville.
Which he did in Barcelona, right?
He did
Basically,
very quickly.
which is ironic.
And then made up a story about General Pershing as well,
yes.
Which is another story we don't have time for.
Which might not be true.
If he had done that from the beginning, a lot of people probably still wouldn't have believed his sincerity, but he might have been able to move on to the infrastructure stuff, which was what he was trying to talk about. People
earlier
working with him who were trying to get infrastructure stuff, trying to get done, wanted him to talk about, but what did he get lost in? Now he's battling again with the media saying, you didn't say the right thing, and he ended up being so stubborn that he doubled down. And so in terms, of again, of an agenda, nothing has even a chance to be accomplished.
Both quarterbacks don't have game experience, true game experience. One game for Connor, a few snaps for Demery. If I was to tell you I know exactly how those quarterbacks are going to play in a game, that's a guess.
Gophers football coach PJ Fleck announces that 2 players will start at quarterback this season. He gave the reasons at Thursday's practice. The Gophers now inside of 2 weeks before their first game of the season against Buffalo. Let's get to some fun stuff. Justin, you go first.
I think it's an elite decision by the head coach, PJ Fleck.
That's shocking.
It's completely elite. Well,
I'm not surprised that Lori went to you first.
Here's the problem.
Set the tableau.
How we're going to go. Here's the problem with playing the 2 quarterbacks thing, though. For this particular team in this particular year, head coach we just heard from said he didn't want to do that like 3 weeks ago. As recently as 3 weeks ago, said that's not my preference. I would rather not do that. And it's not impossible for the formula to work. It's pretty improbable. You can win 6, 7, 8 games with 2 quarterbacks, but I don't think you can win the West with 2 quarterbacks, because what it tells me is you don't have, to use a word, an elite quarterback or a great quarterback. You have a couple of guys that are maybe good, maybe a little bit above average. Who knows? We don't know what we're going to get out of these guys, but now he painted himself into a corner, and now he's got 2 guys, and nobody really believes.
I mean, I think that's actually that's one of my favorite PJ Fleck moments, because to me he was just being. It wasn't all the razzle-dazzle and the elite nonsense. He's answering honestly. He's saying, look, I could try to be the big shot coach and pretend I'll declare one the guy. But I'm flying blind here. And part of the reason is, and this is where it's trouble, nobody has really emerged. And when no one's really emerged, what are you left with other than, all right, somebody's going to start, one of them.
And we don't know yet.
And then we'll sort of see how it goes, and you're going to be a lot of mixing and matching. The mistake, and I'm going to hurt your feelings again about this, is this program invested so heavily in a slightly above average quarterback, Leidner, for the last 9 years that it left no room. It sucked all the oxygen out of anybody else having any experience. And so that's what they're left with. That's what the new coach is left with, a situation where he can't know about either of these guys because no one's ever played the position, because your guy Leidner played forever here.
And that's why I've always leaned, give it to the young kid, Demery Croft, even though we don't know exactly what we have in him. We know they liked him enough 2 years ago to almost let him take over for Mitch Leidner.
Very close.
Then he didn't. He redshirted last year, but I don't want to be in this position again a year ago. Now, apparently, PJ's got a couple of quarterbacks that he really likes that are coming in, and eventually he's going to be in charge of finding his own elite quarterback that he wants.
Does that argue going the other guy then? The guy which guy can help for this year as a placeholder?
Maybe, but we don't know what the guys in the future are going to be like, just like we don't know what these 2 guys. So at least give you a little buffer.
It's unbelievable.
Get some experience.
You told me 10 wins, and now you're backpedaling.
I've never said
it's
10
unbelievable.
Wins. No, I've never said 10 wins.
Okay, let's get to hockey. The Wild welcoming a hometown guy and Stanley Cup champ to the team. Matt Cullen signing a 1-year deal. He's from Moorhead. He played for St. Cloud State, but he's 40 years old. What does he have left, Dan? I mean, nothing against 40-year-olds.
Yeah, don't be ageist.
Well, you can take a cheap shot at age. That's okay. He's definitely got something left. I think that's clear that he's not your average. Now he's 41, right?
I think he's either 41 or he'll be 41.
I mean, he's clearly got something left. But I'm not ready to hold the parade. I know you are, and a lot of the hockey insiders are. And I know, hey, look, he didn't hurt the Penguins to have him
Last couple of years.
But again, the Penguins have.
They have 3 big shots.
Superstars.
Yeah, at least 3.
So you can say, well, they wouldn't have won it without him, but you can reverse that. So he has a role, but I think his greatest value is when he's on a team where he can assume that role and not be asked to do too much. And I still don't like our superstar quotient. I know nothing we can do about it.
Yes.
But I don't think that can be forgotten in the discussion, and I still think that's the biggest problem. Unless one of the young guys, I keep calling them young, they've been around forever, can actually do something in the postseason to take a step where you go. Now that's
the key. The people, the stars that are supposed to be the stars. Now you're paying Niederreiter basically like a star. You're paying Granlund basically like a star. You know you've been paying Parise and Suter like stars. And last year Suter was terrific. Parise was up and down, but they have to be the ones that are going to carry this thing forward. You're absolutely right. Now I would describe this move as better to do it than not do it if you're the Wild, because you do need some help there. You do need another center like they've said. and they really can't do much else. So when you are strapped, what do? You make the best of it.
Yeah, better this than he announces his retirement.
Or goes back and plays with Pittsburgh.
I
mean, you clearly wanted him. This has been rumored for a long time, whether or not he was going to come back and play one more year. Who knows? Maybe he'll play another couple of years. The way someone's going to keep paying him $1 million bucks. But they're limited in what they can do with how much they've paid other guys, with the cap room that they have. They never really know how much wiggle room they have. So this makes a lot of sense.
I just wouldn't start the parade route yet. Or if the parade route's going to be started, it's going to have to be other guys.
And they got to do it in the postseason. They had a great regular season a year ago, the best in franchise history, and they completely flamed out in 5 games in the first round of the playoffs.
And I don't think some of the star players you named were all that great in the postseason.
Nobody was good in the postseason. Yeah. Nobody, right? So maybe bringing in a guy who's been there, a cup guy.
I hate to really be Danny Downer, but do we really still know whether we can trust our goaltender in the postseason?
No,
that's
we don't.
The other thing. I mean, they had no choice on him, but that gets buried too because we've got too many other problems.
Let's talk about another hometown guy. Glenn Perkins makes his return to the mound for the Twins. Here he is. Take a listen.
It's special to me. You know, I've obviously everybody knows I'm from here, and I'm one of those people. And so for them to cheer for me like that, after everything that I've gone through, it felt really good.
He struggled through, though, and so are the Twins now. They're slipping out of the division race, but still alive for the wild card race after a tough series against the first-place Indians. Guys, can the Twins pull this one off? Dan?
Not the Central.
Pull off, yeah, the Central's dead.
No.
But I think we almost knew that before the series.
It was a little bit of a pipe dream. They would have had to sweep Cleveland to have any.
And
the same people that were cheering Glenn, by the way, when he walked in, we watched the game together.
Did they boo him?
Well, no, I just saw him leaving as he was, working through that third of the inning.
It was there. Was it a third of an inning?
Yes. I think that's what it was. One out.
One out.
A couple of hits, hit a couple of people, walked somebody, gave up a couple of runs.
Let's be honest. If Perkins' reascension the rest of this season is the key to whether we stay in it, they're probably doomed. I mean, it's not realistic to expect, whether he's able to come all the way back or not, that he's going to be a key cog. The problem is they're so desperate. And, I actually, again, I've told you know this before, it's been a pet peeve. I don't think you can say they're doomed in the wild card, because there's a lot of flawed teams for that second wild card.
Nobody jumps out.
I really don't. But there are certain pitchers, and Gibby was the starter in the first game yesterday, who just sapped the life out of me and watching this team. And if it was up to me, he wouldn't have even been on the rotation at the start of the year. But, of course, they don't have enough alternatives. But that's the kind of thing that I think has an effect on a team, where you keep throwing people out there. And he went with it again yesterday. I got went into some bad luck. Guy's been here forever. He's not a good enough pitcher to be a starter. And so the new guys will convince me that they're for real, that they're legit, and they're going to take this in a different position.
Falvey and Levine, you're talking about?
Levine, when finally they basically say, we're done with you. We're done. It's over. And even if we have to put somebody out there who we don't think is ready, we're going to do it, because we have to declare this is a change.
A new era.
We can't accept it. And the guy is just not a good enough pitcher. And every inning takes an hour and a half, which also annoys me.
97 pitches through 4 innings, I think it was.
Ridiculous.
So I don't blame. I mean, Molitor knew they had to get 2 in on Thursday. That was probably part of it. He probably got a phone call downstairs saying, we've got to get this second game in.
Has Molly done enough for you?
Midnight.
Are you ready to extend him?
Oh, that's a great question. That I think is one of the pivotal questions, because I like what he's done. Really, given what you just talked about, the complete absence of any pitchers besides 2.
And his best bullpen pitcher is with the Nationals now, right? His closer.
Yes, I like what he's done.
The only X factor is if they have identified a guy who's great,
their own guy,
established, I can live with it. But otherwise, I like him more now than I have before, because I think he's kept it semi-afloat. I know it's 500, but he's kept him semi-afloat.
And they made progress defensively, which was a problem a year ago. Not as many adventures on the base paths. Right. Whatever they did in spring training this year, I think, worked in terms of the fundamentals. Because last year was a circus on all levels, right? It did not reflect well.
It is time for the Enough Said lightning round. There won't be any candy at this year's Halloween parade in Anoka. The city is known as the Halloween capital of the world. The reason, they cite safety concerns, which I tend to agree with. Guys?
Yeah, I mean, again, I know the easy line on this story is bitterness. You're giving in too much to the pitchforks, whatever. No, this is an acknowledgement that there's too many parents who are clueless about paying attention to their kids, and so when they're trying to throw candy, they're running out, they're almost getting run over, and they're saying we don't have enough people to sort of supervise that. So
I thought
yeah,
it was
I
a
don't
thing
have
of
a
the past
problem.
already. Most parades I thought got rid of candy.
Yeah.
You talked, by the way, about the Mardi Gras-like parades that you go to.
Oh, God, yes. They're unbelievable.
I have a great Anoka Halloween parade source that said it's everything Mardi Gras is and more.
I don't doubt it. They pride
in terms of the
themselves on
drinking.
it.
So,
well, the drinking.
that's what I'm talking about.
Not
Yeah.
the candy.
Next
So you
but
might
the
want to be
drinking.
careful.
Yeah.
And how many times at the parades do you have to say to the kids, move back?
Yeah,
Move
and it never worked.
And it's
we'll
always
eat
that
it
hard
later.
candy,
Don't
too,
open
that's
it now. We'll eat it
bad
at
That
for
is
home.
if you're paying
anyway.
attention to your kid, and that's another issue.
Yes. Next up, a toxicology report shows Tiger Woods had 5 different drugs in his system, including marijuana, painkillers, and sleeping aids when he was arrested last May on a DUI charge. Justin?
Makes sense that he had all that stuff if we watch the video, which I think we've shown the footage. He was out of it. I hope he gets the help he needs, if that's what he needs. You know me. I will blindly and naively follow Tiger. I don't know how
to the
far,
ends of the earth.
About as far as I'll follow PJ Fleck.
Yeah.
I am a Tiger oboe. I love Tiger. I want to see him at least get back to just competing. I know that
That's over. I
it's
don't know
probably over.
That's
but
as likely, I
that
think,
doesn't
as
mean-
number 4 coming back again.
8 years ago this week, by the way,
I know.
he
I
came
had
to
a
the
hunch you
Minnesota
might-
Vikings.
yeah.
I brought that up. Brett
Next
Favre
topic.
we're talking about.
A quick verdict in the jury trial of a former radio station host accused of groping singer Taylor Swift. The jury sided with Team Swift. Dan, we talked about this last week.
Yeah,
Team
it
Swift.
didn't take long. I mean, this thing,
No.
see, it looked fairly slam dunkish. And I don't know what the witness situation was, but it looked fairly clear that
Taylor was I think probably the most effective witness.
Yeah, that might have
She was
well
on the
been.
stand for a while, was sarcastic, was funny, was direct, and I don't think he was as believable.
and no real sane reason to make it up.
Why
right?
would
What the
you
hell,
if you're Taylor Swift? And I think that's what the jury
Enough
probably
said.
thought.
He said he wouldn't do it again. He actually said that he would rather slash his wrist than do another Bond film. But Daniel Craig is at it again. It sounds like Bond 25 will come out in November of 2019. Justin?
Why would you not? Really, if they're going to pay. There was a time when you said you didn't
will
want to
you
do
not-
enough set anymore, and what happened? Here we are.
Will you not go?
I won't
on the
actually.
basis of
I'm not
of
a huge
his,
Bond guy.
He's a fraud because he basically in the end he took the money.
No, I don't, because see, people. There will be people like that. I don't mind people. Take the money. We're all
But
here
you know
to
what I
make
do
money,
mind?
pay our bills, support our families.
What I do mind a little bit is then don't get on the soapbox like it's such a burden
Yeah,
in the
that's
first
true.
place. Because this burden's made you a lot of money. I understand you want
You
to
mean an
branch
actor's
out
kinda
and all that, but
self-absorbed a little
honestly,
bit?
I mean,
Okay,
just,
wait a
just
minute.
get over that.
When did Dan say he wasn't going to enough said?
That was a private
That was
conversation.
in the
between
yeah,
you
that
two,
was
but
old
After
news.
the
It's
show
off the
meeting.
record, by
It
the
didn't
way.
make
and
it
it's
to your
now
level.
Okay, I want to show you this video which I'm sure you've seen. The ceremonial first pitch at Fenway Park this week, just a bit outside. Take a look. The ball, let's see it. There we go. Well, you know what happens. That's got to hurt.
That's
I felt
unfortunate.
actually worse for the pitcher, guys.
There's no upside for me anymore
Another
in
yeah,
the
but
ceremonial first pitch.
You go behind home plate, whether you're playing or not, you got to wear a cup.
You do. Well, you got to pay attention.
Well,
Stop
there's- yeah,
texting.
there's that.
But
Well,
why
that
do we
was-
do this? Because there's no. The thrill of it, I think, undermines the fact that the only reason you're going to know is something bad happens,
Yeah.
right? You're only featured if something bad happens. If it's a terrible throw, if you hit somebody.
Okay.
It's true, but he's now there's two
infamous.
people who are
Last but
infamous
not
or
least-
famous.
You might
depending
get
on your point
sued.
of view.
We are less than 1 week away from the great Minnesota get-together, the State Fair. I'm excited for you guys to be there. What are
Isn't
you
it
most
funny how-
excited about?
Well, we heard it's a long story.
30
Why
seconds.
we can't be
for
out there.
us being
Long
there,
story. Don't
and
want to
she
talk
won't
about
join
it.
us out
I
there.
know
We're
it's
going to do the show
disappointing.
live
I
from
have
out there
to
the
hold
next 2
down the
weeks.
fort back here. You're in
Yeah,
good
I know.
hands.
I've heard about it.
I'm excited to wear our new Enough Said polos.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm
I think
excited.
I have to find it.
I know.
They gave it to me too soon.
I know.
is
They
the
should have given it
problem.
to you in May because I should have told them that.
Are you excited about? I don't see. I hate we're talking about the food. Do you care about the food?
Of course I care about the food.
you
That's
really?
why everybody goes to the fair.
They do?
For the food and Enough
It's not for
Said.
the rides?
Live 9:30.
I thought it was for the
Both
rides.
Fridays. Do the rides.
I thought it was
get
for the
food.
grandstand
Come
concerts.
join us.
Yeah.
Help us out 9:30 next week at
Look
the
good if they'll.